Necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. I have tonight Chief of the Fire Department, Chief Joey Nicholas, and also the Deputy Director, is that what it is?
Deputy Administrator.
Deputy Administrator of GITA, former Senator Mana Silva, or as we get, Mana Silver. Anyway, good evening. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
You know, last week I had Chief J.I. and Christine Boleto from Department of Administration regarding the rollback and pay and all that. Now you guys are working with companies, enticing companies to come to Guam to invest and all this, and you guys have been doing a really good job in doing so. Chief, your fire department has never been better.
Thank you.
And you from the onset, I remember when you guys first came on, man.
Yes.
I think you had one ambulance, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
1 to 2.
One to two. And to acquire everything that you've gotten took some money as well. So
Absolutely.
you got your resources and all that, and the economy has gotten better. The whole team, the Calvo administration has really turned this government around. I remember they kind of rolled back, and they're very start of the administration. They rolled back the Hay study because they needed to make sure to see where the government is at, make sure it was in stable ground, made sure the money was coming in, and then they reinstated the Hay.
Right.
Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, when the administration took over, it was a lot of the decisions that were made in the very beginning that got us to where we are today, to a position where we can now afford the salaries for the administrators, for the senators, and for the governor and lieutenant governor. And so if it weren't for those critical decisions that were made way back when, and I was just coming into the legislature at the time, we wouldn't be where we are.
Now let me ask this, because last week the director of administration, basically she's the numbers lady, basically,
Correct.
right? But you are the people that entice companies to come to Guam. You're the ones that kind of make it happen, so they can spend more money, so more taxes and all this, to be able to, again, fully outfit his organization, the Guam Fire Department. Tell me how that's coming about. I mean, you guys are doing a great job. What are we seeing, again, in the very near future in companies, and again, your efforts over the past to be able to, for these companies and incentives for businesses to start here in Guam?
Well, it's really a good thing to see, and it's exciting to be part of the team that's helping attract all of this new interest in Guam. And it's a growing interest in Guam, and we're seeing, especially in the numbers of tourists that are coming here. And our work is really to help support the capacity for the tourists. Right now, our primary focus is increasing the number of hotel rooms so that we could have hotel rooms for the large number of visitors that are coming in. And so you're seeing even expanding industries, agriculture, we're seeing new technology, green technology. And so, as we're looking at this issue in particular, it's really important to see the people behind it and the huge responsibility that they play, that they have. And so it just makes sense that they get compensated justly.
Now, Chief, let me ask you this, because I spoke to Chief J.I. regarding this as well. Your agency, your department has been challenged over the years. You still have your challenges, not the same challenges you met in the past. You yourself, I think you're a reservist, right?
I am a guardsman, yes.
A guardsman, yes. Yeah. Okay, now, I mean, you obviously did that not only wanting to serve your country, but you have a family to feed.
Absolutely.
and so I remember when I was serving the legislature, this was before you, but there was a great challenge when they had that big deployment, the deployment. I mean, there was no agency that was immune, but most especially the fire department, the police department. They were challenged with this deployment, and we couldn't help it. I mean, because again, the rate of compensation that we were given, these men and women needed to help compensate. They were younger families. They're starting building new homes and things of that nature. I'm sure you're one of them.
Yeah, you're right, Jess. And simply put, is that the National Guard given their updated compensation schedule for soldiers, is definitely more attractive than doing full-time government service in the government of Guam. So even today, without the deployment, we still are faced with that challenge when the different reserve components put out orders, and our firefighters, police officers, anybody else in the government will willfully volunteer for these temporary duties because it is more attractive on that side. And so when the Competitive Wage Act was implemented in 2014, it somewhat decreased some of that. It did make them realize, that government service is their full-time job, and it is the breadwinner, and maybe they can pass it on to those younger soldiers and airmen and Coast Guardsmen to give them a chance at that pot of money, because the government of Guam is able now to retain these employees to fulfill their government service.
And I guess it's easy to say Chief St. Nicholas is not deserving of his pay when I don't need to utilize your service.
Yeah.
Yes. But when I need to call 911 and you come to my door, oh wow, you're worth all the money we pay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the worst part about this entire subject. I've been a part of this subject since the beginning. And I've testified at least 3 times on this particular subject over 3 different bills. And that's a thing that's unfortunate, is because we continue to visit this, and we require leaders who should never really talk about what they're worth and their value and their impact to the island. That's not something that a good leader does. But now we're being brought out, and it's just not the right thing to do. And to speak on the senator's behalf, being in this government service as a cabinet member, I see the demands on these elected officials. I see the senators, and I can empathize how difficult that task is. Senators, to include myself as cabinet members, we're stopped no matter where we're at. We could be on the beach with family members having a good time, and some constituent will come up and talk to us about an issue. It's a very difficult job, and so therefore, it's an executive position, and it deserves executive compensation.
Chief, and the difference between yourselves and Mona, we served in the legislature. The difference between yourself and the senators, you guys never degrade what you do, okay?
Right.
The senators, we have degraded what we've done.
Right.
We, from the onset, they said, 15 can do this work, 21, no, we can do that. We can do it with less pay. We can do with this, we can do with that. So we've told the people, we've convinced the people that really we're no better than a real small jurisdiction.
Right.
We've never done that. Chief has never done that. He's never done that to his men and women.
Right.
Whenever again, agency heads come to the legislature, they always hold to high regard their men and women, not only in the police department, the fire department, but all agencies. Now, we in the legislature, we're saying we're not worth it. We're not worth it. So if you want to degrade yourself, fine, but don't degrade the men and women who are not a part of this fight.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and it's not fine. And coming from the legislature, I want to defend the house that we own.
Sure,
it's our house.
That's right.
We earned it.
That's right.
And we'll always be lifelong senators. And so it's important that we stand up and we say the responsibility is huge. And somebody ought to say, let's not degrade the legislature.
That's right.
And perhaps we did reduce the body to 15, but that means less representation.
Sure.
And so what happens when you reduce the salary for the legislature? I think that's something that we shouldn't do for the governor, the lieutenant governor, for the senators, or any of the cabinet members, because it's going to reduce your representation. You're going to not be able to provide for the constituent that comes and asks for a handout, and they do often. That was one of the first things that happens.
Every day.
Every single day. When I first took office, even before I took office, I had people knocking on our door asking, we've got our sick child, we've got to pay our power bill, we've got to pay our water bill. And you know what, as senators, because it's what we're supposed to do, we do what we can to help support and provide some sort of sustenance. And so when you take away the salary, are they going to be able to afford it? They're not.
That's right. Now, and what kind of job are they we're going to be doing? Because we just know that. I mean, pay is an incentive. Yes, it's not the only thing. You got to be committed to the work. But you can't just, none of us walk around with Mother Teresa's, okay? We need to pay our bills. That's the reality.
Yeah, and if I can add to that value, it's the value of the position. The elected officials, that is the groundwork of the country that we live in, the island that we live in. And the decisions that these senators make, all elected officials, the governor, it impacts every single soul on this island.
Sure.
And something needs to be said about that, because I would not want anything less than the best and brightest
Sure.
to be able to make those decisions. We're putting a lot of our faith of 170,000 population of Guam in 15 individuals to make a majority decision on what is right and how we're going to move forward for the island of Guam. And, you know, just to talk on, you know, kind of round it back to your very original question with Mana here, you know, Guam Fire Department has a regulatory aspect to it. We are also part of that attracting investment into Guam.
Sure,
and
sure.
because of the direction of the governor and his great leadership, tasked me to find the efficiencies and to increase the quality of what we do. We've implemented accredited training with our fire inspectors. We've increased our efficiencies, our ability to do inspections, to do planning reviews, to make it easier and simpler for these big investors to come in. And you know, because it's all part of the big picture. And so if you're looking to draw back these salaries, you may not, or you may not find those quality leadership individual leaders that can make those changes, that can do the research, that can find the benchmark, that can implement the programs effectively and lead a diverse population of individuals, because that's what Guam is. We are a melting pot of different individuals, different cultures, and to bring it all together, it does take excellent leadership.
That's right.
And then, you know, it's not really also about the individual, it's the position.
Sure, absolutely.
The position is very deserving of it. We don't, just to use, and I use it often, the position of the fire chief. Just on Guam alone, you can look. You don't need to look stateside. Just on Guam, look at the positions of fire chiefs between the government of Guam, the federal service, and the military service. You know, up in the north and south of our island. You're looking at over 30 to 50,000 difference in salary. And the impact is uncomparable. Yeah. You know, what we call the fire load. So just that in itself should tell you what the value of these positions are. And, you know, to roll back to 1991 salaries. 1991. And just remember that even today's salary, the study was done somewhere around 2009, 2010. So even when it was implemented in 2014, it was already 4 years behind. And so now that they're going to do the governor has, you know, in his great leadership, has directed another salary study. You know, we're just moving just a little too quick on trying to repeal without waiting for the proper facts to back it up.
I mean, how ironic that they want to roll back to 1991, but yet they expect you to be up to date in the latest technologies. Right. So if we want to roll that back, do we also roll back technology of what the fire department practiced in 1991?
Yeah,
I doubt it.
And imagine if we did that. I mean, no offense to my predecessors, but like you said at the beginning, we got down to 1 to 2 ambulances. Yeah. You know, and you know, there's many factors that brought us to that level.
Hey, I got that quick break. We'll be right back. I want to talk a little bit more about his department and, of course, the police department. And again, when you guys go out there and try to entice business to come here, they ask you about both of them. Right. Be right back.